Hmm. 10-piece brush set for $2. Huh. Well, people seem relatively chuffed with these. Wonder if they're actually worth it for miniature painting. Guess there's only one way to find out. So, cheap brushes from China. You've probably looked around online for cheap miniature painting brushes, and at some point you've probably stumbled across wish.com. And, well, the results are interesting, to say the very least. One of these brushes, I don't know how well that's going to come across, but it came frayed, and a lot of the hairs are just well, all different lengths. And then there's a few of these where you pull on it at all and bristles just keep coming out of it. They don't seem to be held in place, and other brushes look great until you start to use them, and then they just fall apart. You could probably get about 2 miniatures, like 2 seriously good miniatures out of one of the good brushes, and then they're kind of dead. That having been said, when I got mine, there was a deal where I just paid the shipping, which the shipping was like $2, and I got them for free. So I got 20 brushes for $2, and about a third of them just had to be thrown away. Another third's going to be really good for mixing things like epoxy, resin, anything for mold making would be probably fine to use those with, if I don't mind the occasional stray brush hair in them. These were 2 of the nicer ones that I had. I used these for the more aggressive paints, and I pretty much painted the entire miniature with this brush. Now, today's video is a bit different because I wanted to give the miniature its best shot at looking good, so rather than painting all of the flat surfaces with this, I did airbrush it, which I think is the only reason they look as nice as they do at the end. But that having been said, I spent more time cleaning the paint back out of the brush just to load it up again so that I could get a good tip on the brush than I probably did actually painting. In the video it looks like I'm just chugging right along, but anytime the brush comes completely off the screen, I'm cleaning the brush, putting more paint in the brush, and then going back to the model. So ultimately the question is, was it worth it? And we'll cover that at the end of the video, but for right now I just want to get along with a quick little tutorial, and you guys can see things for yourself and make your own opinions, and then we'll come back and talk about it at the end of the video. So for today's model, I was planning to fade all the way up from a dark black on one corner all the way around the model to the other side to a deep purple or deep crimson. That had been my original plan. As you can see, I tried something new with the camera here and it didn't quite work. Despite numerous tests, I just ended up capturing my hands in about half of what I was doing. So we won't be doing that again. We'll keep the camera in front of me as always, so you guys get a better idea what's going on. Now, I didn't quite get it to the purpley crimson color that I wanted. It looks great when we're done here, but once all of the tones are on the model, it just kind of looks black all the way around unless you're seeing it in direct light. And even then, it's pretty subtle. So you can see here that I'm basically taking Scavenge Blight Dinge and I end up going all the way up to Dawnstone, and this allows me to spray contrast paints through my airbrush like an ink, and that's what gives me that nice smooth transition fade all the way up from the black all the way up to the crimson that you'll see at the end. It's the fact that I'm successfully laying those colors down on top of all of these successive layers of gray. Here you can see me using flat red from Vallejo's model color line, and I am going to use this as my initial highlighting phase for pretty much all of the models. I wanted to use this because it was a nice vibrant color, and I could then go in with a almost orangey crimson color afterward on my extreme edges, as well as in a few places where I wanted this red to be the sole accent color as opposed to just a highlight. As you can see, these Tau stealth suits have a lot of sharp edges on them. And there are a few edges that I choose to not put highlights on, as I knew that if I put highlights on everything, it would just be a lot. And I didn't want to take away from what the model was as a whole and just make it this big line work mess. I found their shoulder pauldrons to be rather tricky, so instead of trying to be super careful the first time I went around, I just cleaned it up with some black afterward. Here you can see me doing a little bit of highlighting on the red with an orange color, and then following up with Mournfang brown and getting all of the little leather straps. Now there weren't too many on this model, but I knew what little leather was on here needed to be a nice deep color to match with the darker tones of our project. Switching up to a lacquer-based paint for our gold and copper, I knew I was going to need to change brushes, so that's when I switched from using my 00 over to my 0 and used it more as a sacrificial brush. You will not get as much life out of whatever brush you decide to use for lacquer-based paints because their cleaner is very aggressive. As I've been painting these in this red and black tone, I realized that they gave off this super almost retro Tron-like vibe to me, and I really wanted to go into all the nooks and crannies on this model and put in a very faint blue glow effect. And as I laid in this initial tone, I realized that I was going to need to go with a pretty extreme highlight. So we started out with Vallejo dark blue to lay out all of those initial blue tones, and then I would come back in again with Frosty Blue from Reaper to do those initial highlights. But I noticed in between stages that the black was just super dark and in a few places needed to be kind of accented. So I went in ahead with a little bit of Dawnstone and added some accents in certain places on the black armor. I thought this helped to break up the model a little bit, and I hope you'll agree. I had an initial setback when I tried to just lay in the Frosty Blue on top of the original dark blue. It wasn't allowing enough of the original color to show through to give a subtle glow effect like I wanted to. I quickly realized that if I washed the surface of the cracks with a just plain water wash, and then before it had a chance to dry, came in with that icy blue, the capillary effect of both the paint and the water would suck it into the deepest most parts of the crack, leaving enough of the dark blue behind that it was able to give this super nice subtle glow effect. I was actually able to make these little stones by accident a long time ago using a mold and some plaster that I have. I went ahead and laid these in using some super fine super glue, and as you can see I got rather frustrated with myself and realized that I pretty much almost had to glue every single one of them down as I went, or I would just continue to knock them back off the model. Unfortunately, these don't really come across once everything's all based up. I probably should have highlighted them in a much brighter near white tone if I really wanted them to show up amongst the grass that I ended up gluing down, and I'll probably end up adding that highlight later. But that's just something that I noticed now that I'm editing, and I didn't really notice at the time. As you can see here in some video I shot for social media, the blue glow effect came across really nicely, but as I said, the tiling in the grass just kind of gets lost. I feel like I should have stuck with some smaller basing material to allow the stonework to show through a bit better, or even gone with a brighter color to highlight them. At the end of the day, is it worth it? Yes and no. If you've got kids in the hobby with you and you're worried about them destroying your stuff, buying a bunch of these so that they can learn how to take care of brushes, or if they decide they aren't into the hobby a year later, at least you only spent a few bucks on brushes, and maybe investing in these isn't for you. Again, at the end of the day though, for a couple of bucks, 10 to 20 brushes, even if only one good brush comes out of that entire pack, you're not able to go down to Hobby Lobby, Michael's, or your local store and find a decent brush for $2. Personally, I think it's worth the one-time investment just to see if you like it yourself. I may continue to buy these. I don't really know yet. I need to paint with them a bit more before I make that final decision. But like I said, I really only think you'll get about 2 or 3 models out of a good brush from this brand before it just kind of dies. So I personally like to buy watercolor brushes, so if that helps you guys out at all, invest in watercolor brushes. They're got a great body, and at the end of the day, they hold a lot of paint and they hold up for a while. In this video, I stated a lot of my own personal opinions about this product. Please feel free to make your own informed decisions before deciding for yourself how you feel about this product. As always, thank you so much for all the love and support you've shown both this channel and my other social medias. You guys have been wonderful and amazing. I hope that your pile of shame never runs empty and your display case is always overfull. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next one.